All right, once there was a follower of the Baal Shem Tov. And this fellow, the Baal Shem Tov, he was a genius, and he knew Kabbalah, and he knew, the Torah and matters of the world. And he heard that the Baal Shem Tov could understand the speech of the birds. It says by King Solomon, he understood the speech of the birds. What do birds have to say? What do you want to understand the birds for? What do birds have to say? There's a nice piece of bread in this person's yard or something. What do birds have to say? So it says that when it's also the speech of the palm trees, that when God wants to make something new in the world, as he breaks, whatever, a decree, whatever, so the chirping of the bird sort of breaks the physical world, so that the decree can come in. And some people can understand what this is. I'm not one of them that can understand, but nevertheless, that's what it is. So this man decided that he was learned enough and that he was serious enough and he was holy enough, and he wanted to learn the speech of the birds. He was also rich, wealthy. So he went to the Baal Shem Tov and he said, here I am, and you can test me anywhere you want in the Torah, and I know it, and I want you to teach me to understand the speech of the birds. So the Baal Shem Tov said, listen, I can't teach it to you. I can't teach it to you. It's not for your benefit. Forget it. So he said, no, come on, I really want to learn it. I know what I'm doing. I'm a mature person. I know the Torah. When the Baal Shem Tov said, no, I'm not going to teach it. I'm telling you, it's not for your benefit. So he decides he's not going to let the Baal Shem Tov go. He has it in his mind, all figured out. The Baal Shem Tov is jealous. The Baal Shem Tov does not want anyone to have his powers and doesn't want to share it with others, and therefore he's not going to let up. Not going to let up. So he doesn't take no for an answer, and he appears at the Baal Shem Tov's house every day, knocks on the door, disturbs the Baal Shem Tov, starts coming twice a day, knocking on the Baal Shem Tov's window. In the nighttime, he wants to learn the speech of it. So finally, the Baal Shem Tov says, okay, I'll teach you. So he takes him, he teaches him, and he certainly was able to, capable. And it took him about a month, whatever, and he learned how to understand. And the way it goes is, at least this is how I heard the story, that he had to go to a certain place in the forest at a certain time, and he had to make certain prayers and say certain things, and he had to fast, and he had this and that, and prepare himself. And then he would hear the bird, and he would understand the birds. So, and good, he waited for the proper time, and he made the proper preparations, and he went out and said the proper words, and said the proper psalms, and proper this, and the unifications, they're called Yehudim, and the birds are chirping away, and suddenly it makes sense to him. And he hears that the birds are saying what's going to be in China, what's going to be in Russia, what's going to be in the north, what's going to be in the south. And suddenly one of the birds says, that Mr. Groyce, the one who has all the ships on the dock, the rich guy, well, tomorrow there's going to be a big storm from nowhere, and all of the ships are going to sink. So he says, that's me. Immediately he runs to his carriage, races down to the docks, and tells all of the people on the docks, tomorrow my ships don't set sail. I want them all to be tied to the docks firmly, don't set sail. So all of the captains of all of the ships and also the people who run the docks say, you can't do that. There's ships that are coming in, there's ships that are coming out. It's all arranged. He said, I don't care. I'll pay whatever fine you want. I'll pay anything that you want to. There's other docks. You'll put them onto the other docks. It'll be more difficult. You'll have to for the new cargo that are coming from the other ships. I'll pay whatever fines, whatever. I'll pay anything. Don't let my ships go. So they said, okay, he's paying and he's bribing everybody. And sure enough, new ships come in the daytime, they redirect them, and the captains of the new ships are all angry, and they're all, And sure enough, what happens? From nowhere comes this tremendous, what do they call it? A cyclone. What do they call it in the sea anyway? A storm at sea. And any ship that's at sea, it's like 1 mile offshore or something like that, is sunk. Only the ships that were tied up to the docks or that were near the docks, whatever, they're saved. So as a result, 90% of his competition is gone. And he's got the almost only ships in the whole place. He's got almost the ships. So he says that, I'm beginning to understand why the Baal Shem Tov didn't want me to know, right? I've become, 15 times as wealthy as before. It only benefited me. Next month, he goes out into the middle of the forest and he hears the birds talking, makes all the preparations, hears the birds talking, and what's going to be in the Ukraine, what's going to be in Spain, what's going to be here. And one of them says, hey, that rich guy, Grois, that he saved all of his ships the other month? Well, there's going to be a fire in his house, in his mansion. It's going to burn down with all of the money that's there and all of the possessions is going to be lose half of his wealth. He runs home immediately, hears this, tells all of the the workers there that gives them all a break, a day off, and he hires special police to come and they look around, and they've got buckets of water to put out any fire that's going to be. And sure enough, they find that there was an old maid there, one of the maids that works in the kitchen, and she didn't know anything about this, one day off. She was cooking something in her room, whatever. She left a little fire, and her drapes caught on fire. And the men that were there that he hired put the fire out and saved the whole business. He said, "Oh, this I've only benefited from these birds talking. Now maybe they'll even tell me mysteries of the Torah. Who knows what other amazing good things. See, the Baal Shem Tov didn't want me to learn, didn't want me to hear the words talking, because he didn't want me to rise to this tremendous greatness that I've achieved now." Next month, he goes out into the woods and he hears the birds talking. What's going to be in Italy? What's going to be in Africa? What's going to be here? That rich guy Grois, that he saved his ships 2 months ago in his house. The next month, so he's going to die. So he says, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do? Where can I go? Where can I? So he runs to the Baal Shem Tov. And he says, Baal Shem Tov said, no, how are things going? Said, well, listen, things were going pretty good, up to today. I mean, I saved my ships. I would have lost half of my wealth. I saved my house. I would have lost the other half. But now the bird said that I'm going to die. And, it didn't explain how. I would avoid it if I knew how. So the Baal Shem Tov said, listen, I told you it wasn't going to benefit you. You wouldn't leave me alone. If you would have lost half of your wealth, as that would have been sufficient, sufficient correction of you, the suffering that you had, and you wouldn't have had to die. You would have had half of your wealth, and you wouldn't have. If you would have lost, God gave you another chance. If you would have lost your house, then you would have lost half of your wealth. The pain that you would have had from losing, that would have been in the place of dying. That would have been in the place. But now you have all your money, you got everything, but nothing is protecting you anymore from the decree that you're going to die. And it doesn't make any difference where you go, you're going to die. So he said, well, is there any way I can fix this up? Any sort of correction? The Baal Shem Tov said, well, there's one way maybe that you can correct this, and that is give all of your money away with your house and everything and become a pauper. And a person that's poor is considered to be like dead. And maybe that will be in the place of your death, and that'll fix you up. So it ended up that too good was not good. And that we had to listen to the Baal Shem Tov, and very often what we think is the best for us is exactly the worst. have a good day with Mashiach now. Somehow or other will realize that all of the difficulties, like it says, Odachaki Anaftabi, were really very good things. Oh, it's going to be that, like we just learned in Likkutei Torah. Don't look at just the surface. Underneath is perfect. Okay, let us do this. Here we go. Okay, no, this stop the